Hey there, everybody. A really quick introduction today to some enhancements that we've made that have kind of revolutionized groups, which has emerged as one of those central pieces of functionality in Engagify that so many of our customers have come to rely on. So I want to show you real quickly around some of the new stuff that we've released. I'll start by pointing out here that you can see a constant contact logo against this clerks group. What that's telling me is that right now that group is being synchronized over to constant contact. If you're using MailChimp, you'll see a MailChimp logo there for any groups that you've chosen to sync over. Now, for today's purposes, I'm going to open up Current Mayors, which is just a group that I have running that's got a few people in it. And this group, you'll notice, has opened up in a different way than it used to. It opened up on the People in Group tab instead of on the Settings tab. We've come to recognize, of course, that you're probably coming to this group after the first time to view it, not to configure it. And so we've changed the order in which that opens. So enhancement number one. Enhancement number two is up here on the top. You'll notice there's an email address and a refined description sort of layout. Let's talk about the email address real quickly. If I wanted to email everybody in this group, but without CCing them, right? I want to send Lori an email and John an email and Shelly an email and Alicia an email. I can use this one email address, go over to my Outlook or my Gmail, or directly from within Engagify, use the communications module and send an email to this email address, and it will send out to all of those people individually. More to come on the email address in a moment. Another thing that I can do is associate this group with a particular organization. Now, in the newsletter that you might have clicked on to get here, I mentioned in that newsletter that if you're doing candidate searches, if you're a school board association and you're doing superintendent searches, or if you're helping any of your member organizations across whatever kind of association you are, do some sort of candidate search that is confidential, and you want to control who can see this thing, who can work with this group of candidates that you're tracking. You'll probably also want to align it with the member organization that you're doing that service on behalf of. So if I'm trying to help Boise schools find a new superintendent or whatever the case may be, then I can go over and say, okay, link this group to Boise, and then make a decision here as to whether the people who are in Boise, the members who work there and have access to Engagify, whether they can or cannot see this group. So I'm going to make that change. And now this group is linked, kind of like you can link a committee. This group is now linked to that organization. If I go to that organization, I'll see that group from there as well. Now I can also choose who can even see that this group exists. Remember, if we're talking about candidate searches as one application here, then secrecy is an important part. And so I might want to say that only the group owner, which I'll talk about in a moment, the person who created the group is a way of thinking about it, only the group owner can see this, or only people at the association, or only people within a given set of organizations. Maybe I'll allow Boise schools and my organization to see this, or only people in the selection committee, or so on and so forth. Different ways of doing that as well. So I'm setting visibility here. For those of you that work in legislation, this is similar to setting visibility on a bill to where only the person who's been assigned the bill can see the bill. So some new stuff there at the top. Some new stuff there at the top. As well as, oh, by the way, I almost forgot, I can also duplicate a group. So if I love everything about this group, but I want to change one thing about it, I can just hit the copy button up there and I can choose to duplicate that group. Now, let's go into settings real fast and take a look at a couple of new things in here. So we've sort of rearranged things. The criteria builder is the same. So these 12 people are in this group because their current position is mayor, right? So that's pretty easy. Now, back to that email address, there's more functionality that goes along with it. And again, secrecy is kind of at the heart of this thing. You'll notice it says current mayors. I can change that prefix if I want to here. And then I can decide if someone else were to email this, what should we accept and what should we reject? Just in case somehow some spammy group gets access to this email address, we don't want them emailing our members in this group because they somehow got access to this email address. And so you can choose that only the group owner is allowed to send this. What that means is the email server will simply deny any email that did not come from the group owner or did not come from these specific people or people within a given organization, and so on and so forth. So you can set that kind of like visibility, but it's more of a sending permission. Who's allowed to send emails to this group, because if someone tries to and they aren't specifically designated, the email simply will not go through. I can also, again, for secrecy reasons, choose which email address is going to be used. So what I mean by that, let's say you're doing that candidate search and you're tracking a person's professional email address, right? Ben at ABC School District, .edu. And then you've also got my personal email address, ben at gmail.com or what have you. So on my profile, you have a personal and a professional email address. Well, if you're doing a candidate search, you probably don't want to be sending information about job hunting to my current professional address. That would be kind of uncouth. And so you want to say, well, I only want to send it to a specific email address. So all of the email addresses that are on my profile or on the profiles of the people in this group would be shown here as options. So you might have primary, secondary, personal, whatever combination. If you've got 5 different email addresses on your profiles, then 5 options will show here. The point being, whenever you email people from the context of this group, it'll only go to the email address that you've designated or the type of email address that you've designated. That way you can't accidentally send job hunting stuff to a professional email address if you've got it set to personal. And then finally, group owners. So one of the things that we've gotten in feedback around groups has been, I want to control a group that I created. I created this for my specific purposes. Other people have made changes to it that frustrated me. And so what we've done here is we've locked it down to where only the group owner, or if you've got multiple group owners, only the group owners, plural, can make changes to a group or can do other things like visibility and so on that we've talked about already. So you can designate specific group owners for specific groups. That way Ben can have his groups and Bill can have his groups and so on. And you can have as many or as few as you'd like. So those are some pretty major enhancements that have come to groups in this recent release. And I hope you guys find great ways of using them. Do expect a more proper and produced webinar to be coming up soon where we can entertain your questions and talk through different use cases and all kinds of stuff and dive into this in more depth. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing what you do with this.